Hi guys, and welcome to the heart of my garden. This is where it all began, and I'm sitting on the construction of the tea house, future tea house. So this is where it all began, and I always dreamed to have a tea house and have real tea ceremonies, but also have a space where I can just go relax. There will be no TVs or anything like that in here. All you have is just glass that surrounds you, so you can look at the nature around you and just meditate, rewind, unwind, and be with yourself and nature. This tea house project went through so many different phases. First it was square and traditional, but then we thought, well, I never even been to Japan, so it doesn't really make sense to make it very traditional. And then next to the studio, it's just not gonna sit well. So the same architect who is building the studio decided to take on this project too. And it was very exciting because I was inspired by more futuristic and modern looks, and that was a challenge for him because he always wanted to make some curved shapes of the buildings. And then we started drawing shapes, and then on one of our first meetings about the tea house, I think, he drew this shape. This was like a teardrop shape that almost copying the shape of the pond. And just surprisingly enough for my architect, I really loved it, and we thought, wow, it's gonna be great. And first it was like curved glass all over, and then we went through a stage when we realized, well, curved glass has to support the roof somehow, so it has to have some walls and stuff. And then later on the shape started changing and emerging even more when one time a guy came to the meeting and showed me not curved glass but like hexagon shape and like poking straight bits of glass, and I really loved it because it looked like a diamond. And I know it disturbs your view more, but the visual and aesthetics remind you of Japanese tea houses a little bit more. And that was it. We decided that this is how our tea house is gonna look, and then we started working on the inside of it. And I remember first meeting when Guy offered some things that are gonna happen in there. I realized that if we are building tea house, it has to be something, has to tell you that it is a true Japanese tea house. And if it's not the shape, it's gonna be something within it. And I was gifted a very good book about Japanese gardens by our friend, our family, Morgan. And he's also our godfather of our son. And that book was just amazing. It was explaining every single detail, how Japanese tea houses are built and what's the purpose of the entrances and places where people sit and where you prepare the tea. So I made us face the building directly like this. So it's like not straight into the north, but northeast, because of the entrances to the tea house. So because the host always enters the tea house from here, and the host will go through the tea garden and will enter it from the east-south area, and then he will go into the tea place where he's gonna have a tea. And then when we were developing the area where you're gonna be having tea ceremonies, we realized that the sunken seat could repeat the shape of the compass that I used to build this garden. So when you're going into the tea house, this area, the center, will be where your tea is making and rumbling. And then these shapes will be actually benches. So when you're sitting in here, well, actually you can't sit on the north because it's an area for some display. But here you will have a host that's sitting and preparing teas, and northeast, east and south east you will have guests sitting there and enjoying your tea ceremony. So we have two different zones. We have the kitchen area where the host, which is me, hopefully one day when I learn how to do tea ceremonies, and the area where the host is preparing the tea. And then we will have a sunken sitting area, which is idea by Guy. So when you sit down for a cup of tea, you will be almost on the level of the water, and you have water flowing around it, and you're just in this serene space, just listening to the rumbles of the kettle. And that's another thing that we took from traditional Japanese tea houses. We will have, in this sunken seat, we will have a table with a sunken area, raw, which is called, it's like a sunken bit where you put your teapot in the summer. So in the warmer times, you put it in the raw, and then in the colder parts of the year, you hang your teapot from the ceiling. You will have this experience like you would get in Japan, probably. In this area, we will have a divider of 2 zones of the tea garden, and well, this rock is gonna go from here, because when we went to choose this rock, we didn't realize it wasn't just muddy, it was 2 types of stone, the rock stone and the sandstone, which meant that sandstone is gonna crumble over time. So we had to destroy this rock. That was a challenge for our gardeners. David was cracking on with it, and they cracked it in the end. So this is going soon, and we went again to the quarry. That quarry is actually a very fantastic space. It's very old quarry, and all old English historical buildings like Westminster Abbey was built with that stone, and now that stone is gonna be here, which is so cool. But yeah, it looks amazing, and it's gonna divide the space to give you like more enclosed feeling when you're sitting and having your cup of tea. So this is not the final plan that we have, but one of the finalist plans for the inside bit. And here we see how the water will flow around the tea house. That's another exciting part of the project, is that when we built the tea house, we realized that we missed the point how we will get the stream, the amount of water around the tea house. And we have this outlet in here, which is 2.3 meter wide. So you have to have a proper powerful stream to push that amount of water both sides and then drop it in here. So I came up with this master plan of the pondless waterfall, which is gonna start like it would in the nature from the hill, and it slowly gonna cascade down into the moat of the tea house. Then it's gonna go around it, and it's gonna drop in here into the reservoir, which is gonna be probably like 3 meters long and maybe 1 meter tall, and that will help us to clear the water. And I'm gonna be able to put some nice fish in there, and then you can sit in here on this spot and have your cup of tea, for example, and look at the fish. And then clear water is gonna run under the tea house back into the hill and gonna slowly repeat its path, and over and over and over again. But in that way we're gonna be able to maintain the clear water around the tea house, but also do it more sustainable, so you can turn it on when you want the flow to go, or you have guests, and you turn it off when you don't need it, and you don't waste extra energy. This is the CGI plan of the visual, how it's gonna look like. It's gonna be a little bit different because the drop of the water will be different, but it still will be, you will have this look. Also, another interesting bit, how we decided to merge the tea house with the studio and to reflect them. They're like yin yang, they're opposites, but they're similar in a way. So the studio is square and just a big block, and the tea house is smaller and it's more has more curves to it. But the tea house will also have doodles in it, but they're gonna be either carved or put on in doodle shapes on top of the tea house with clay techniques. So that's going to be very exciting, and they're going to be very, very subtle. So it's going to be white on white, probably all like light earthy colors. And then half of the tea house is going to be glass. And another touch that we brought from the garden into the tea house is you see this curvy tree behind me. So we took some branches out of that tree and we treated them properly, so they're gonna become handles of both doors on the tea house. I really hope that this year, this summer, I'm gonna be sitting in this house when it's ready. But it might be as well that it carries on as any project does. But the main thing, I want to make it right. And the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to start choosing materials, and we're going to have this lovely like a mood board of different textures and colors that we're going to have inside, so we can get the proper feel of it. So I look forward to invite you to my finished tea house this year, hopefully.